The Battle of Crécy, fought on August 26, 1346, was a decisive engagement between the forces of King Edward III of England and King Philip VI of France during the early phase of the Hundred Years' War. The battle is considered one of the most significant English victories of the conflict and marked a turning point in medieval warfare, showcasing the power of the longbow and the evolving tactics of the English army. Prelude to the battle. In 1346, Edward III embarked on a military campaign in France, seeking to assert his claim to the French throne and to disrupt French power. After a successful siege of Calais, he turned his forces southward, intending to march through northern France. Philip VI, eager to stop the English advance, gathered a large army and pursued Edward, eventually catching up with him near the village of Crécy in northeastern France. The forces. English army. Edward's army was composed of about 12,000 men, including a significant number of archers armed with longbows, as well as infantry and cavalry. The English forces were highly mobile and well-drilled in using their longbows to devastating effect. French army. The French army, numbering around 30,000 to 40,000 men, was predominantly composed of heavily armored knights and cavalry. The French forces, though larger, relied on traditional knightly tactics, focusing on heavy cavalry charges. The battle. Edward positioned his forces on a gentle rise with his archers in the front, protected by a line of stakes to ward off cavalry. The terrain and the presence of the English archers would prove decisive in the outcome. The French assault. Philip VI launched a series of cavalry charges against the English positions. However, the longbowmen, stationed behind protective stakes, unleashed volleys of arrows that decimated the French knights and cavalry. The sheer range and firepower of the English longbows, combined with the muddy conditions of the battlefield, made it difficult for the French to break the English lines. Heavy losses for France. The French suffered tremendous casualties, with thousands of knights and soldiers killed or wounded. The French king's infantry was decimated, and his cavalry, unable to break through the English lines, was largely ineffective. Philip VI himself narrowly escaped the battlefield. Outcome and significance. The Battle of Crécy was a resounding victory for Edward III. The English forces inflicted massive casualties on the French, and the battle marked the first major use of the longbow as a decisive factor in warfare. This victory also disrupted French plans and helped solidify English control over parts of northern France, including Calais. Longbow's effectiveness. The battle demonstrated the superiority of the longbow over traditional knightly cavalry, signaling the decline of heavily armored knights as the dominant force on the battlefield. French leadership. The battle highlighted the disarray in French leadership, as their knights were ill-prepared for the tactics used by the English. Boost to English morale. The victory at Crécy provided a significant morale boost to Edward III and his forces, demonstrating the effectiveness of his military strategy and cementing his reputation as a formidable leader. Legacy. The Battle of Crécy remains one of the most important battles of the Hundred Years' War. It reshaped the nature of medieval warfare, showcasing the power of the longbow and the growing importance of infantry over cavalry. The battle also set the stage for subsequent English victories, including the eventual conquest of Calais and the continuation of Edward's campaigns in France. The defeat at Crécy marked the beginning of a long struggle for France to reclaim its territories, ultimately leading to the French resurgence in the later phases of the war.